Hi BookTube. I'm here to do my June wrap-up. As you can maybe tell from the background, I am in the middle of rearranging all of my books because what I did was take the books that were on this opposite wall, because it was kind of like an L shape because I couldn't get them all to fit on one wall because the door was in the way. This wall, I can lay them all three against the wall and it's just one straight line. So, as you can kind of tell, there's nothing, like they're in like general order, but they're not alphabetized like I would like, and then I have all sorts of bits and bobs, and nothing is exactly where I want it to be. But instead of waiting for me to finish this project, because this might take me a couple of days, and I didn't necessarily pick the right time to do this because we're in the middle of a heat wave. Like our first 90-degree day was a couple of days ago, and then of course we just skip and go right to the hundreds. So it's gonna be hot here for the foreseeable future, really. So yeah, I have the AC off right now. Thank goodness. I have air conditioning now because the first couple of years our apartment didn't allow it, but now I do. Yeah, so I have it off while I'm filming this. So yeah, I want to get this done before I melt. But okay, so as far as June went, I didn't read as many books as I typically do. I read 21, and I know for a lot of people that is fantastic. For me, it's not as good. I don't want to say mediocre, but you know what I mean. Like this. But the thing is, I had, as I mentioned in several videos, I had so much going on in June with work and work trips and vacation and blah 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 blah. Like I can, that kind of thing. So it was more stressful month, I guess. But I still managed to read a good amount of books, and let's see, I stacked these up to see if I can show you, because out of the 21 books, I think I counted 14. I have 14 physical books off my shelf that I read, which is yay for that, because that's one of my goals is to read half the books I read in a month as physical books, because I try to go back and forth, one ebook and then one physical book. But oh my goodness, this is an unwieldy tower here. Here we go. Okay, so these are all of the physical books I read. Is a little bit misleading because one of them, the massive chunker of The Fitzgeralds and the Kennedys by Doris Kearns Goodwin, I read the bulk of this month, like at least half, but I started it back in March for March of the Mammoths, because this is a book over 800 pages, so it fit for the Mammoth prompt, and it is 930 pages. So I got this one done, and I really like it. It follows the John F. Kennedy, the president, his family from his grandparents on. So like when his parent, or even before that actually, because it's when his family moved over from Ireland, established themselves in America, as immigrants with pennies to their name kind of thing, and then how they were able to get into politics, and his father, how he earned so much money. My goodness, it was involved in so many different things that are still talked about today. I was so surprised, like the Hertz rental car. I'm still thrown by that. I'm like, what? But yeah, John F. Kennedy's father was so good, and the author mentioned this too several times, how he was so good at his finger on the pulse of knowing not what currently is blowing up, but what will blow up. Like I feel like for sure he would know about Microsoft and Amazon like way before it was on anyone's radar, before anyone had heard of it, that kind of thing. So yes, very, very informative, and it ends right when JFK becomes president. So it doesn't go on, because again, it's already 930 pages. So there's other biographies that would cover that part of his life, but it covers a wealth of of history, of biography, and you get insights into all the brothers and sisters and all that with it. So yes, 5 stars all around for that one. And a couple other books I will mention. For June on the Range, I was reading westerns, fiction and nonfiction. So let's see if here I can find them. Okay, so for the fiction, I read 4, and I'm not going to go into any great detail on these because none of them necessarily, like, I wouldn't say they're 5 stars, I'd say like 3 stars. So like I feel like as I'm reading these, I feel like I don't know, maybe it's a specific kind of western I need to be reading, but the typical like shoot 'em up kind of thing seems to be not my cup of tea. But I did enjoy the nonfiction that I read, and I know I like Larry McMurtry. Like that was like my go-to before June on the Range was a thing. So I don't know, maybe I need to find something comparable to him, maybe. But, okay, so for nonfiction, I read A Child of Steens Mountain by Ellen O'Keefe McVicker, and this is all about her childhood in the Steens Mountains here in Oregon, like very much southeastern Oregon, so it's like the deserty, dry climate. And I actually talked about when she was a child compared to nowadays. And when was this written? Let's see here, 2008. So like, you know, I guess 1950 compared to now kind of thing, like how the climate is different. There's, you know, less of certain animals than others and all of that. Let's see, and I read Trails West, and this is it by National Geographic. This is from the 70s, and you can greatly tell from the people that are in here, like their hairstyles and stuff. Let me see if I can find. Like, not all the pictures were like that, but it has like cowboys and things like that. But like some of the like here's one, like some of the hair, like the outfits are very much, I don't know, 70s or 80s. But this was a lot of fun. This followed, I broke it down into 5 different chapters. So you've had the Oregon Trail, the Mormon Trail, like is there a map here? There is a map of each one, but is there a map in total for all of them? Yeah, so Oregon Trail, Santa Fe Trail, Mormon Trail, California, the Gila Trail, and the Bozeman Trail. So you have like, you know, the northern routes, the southern routes, and so on. So here's one map, for example. Let's see. Yeah, this is full of pictures and, you know, very informative and, you know, like a quick read. But I wanted to read, and, you know, knock some of these books off my shelf because I have several of these. Actually, maybe you can tell. No, it's down here because I have everything reorganized. But I have a multitude of like the coffee table picture book. Actually, since they're sitting right here, like I have way over 10. I know that. Yes. And the other book for June on the Range was Eastern Naturalists in the West by Dallas Lore Sharp. And this is a like rewrite of his book Where Rolls the Oregon, published in 1914. So this is all about him exploring a lot of like mostly eastern Oregon, and it does feature Portland and goes over to the coast. And I actually read a clip, the last chapter here, I read in one of my vlogs because like the day before I had went to Council Crest, which is a park here in Portland where you can see all of the mountains, including Mount Rainier, which is really cool. And then the very next day, I picked up this book and I was like flipping to the back to see if I could find the author bio. And then what I saw was Council Crest. I was like, oh my goodness, I was just there. So yeah, I wanted to read part of that to you when I was included in that vlog. I think it was like my Portland, Oregon coast vlog, I believe. So if you want to check that out, yeah. And so let's see here. Let's see what I want to cover. I'll just talk briefly about these other books, ones that stood out to me. So I read North with the Spring by, this is confusing me because it has Dodd, Mead, and Teal, but this is Edwin Way Teal. I don't have a dust jacket because these the hardcovers, I guess, are a little bit harder to find. They're out of print, I believe, and so I was just happy to find it with just the green cover, and it was in good condition. But Edwin Way Teal and his wife went from where they live up here in New England, and then they went all the way down and all the way back up to the border of Canada and swooped back. And so they had quite the adventure. And he has 4 books following the different seasons. And another naturalist writer book that I highly enjoy. Another book that I really liked was New and Selected Poems by Mary Oliver. This was also featured in one of my vlogs because I was reading at a coffee shop, and it was outside on the patios back when it was cooler weather, like, I don't know, 50 degrees or something. And my backpack with this book was in it was on the floor, and she was a lady was watering flowers, like the water was running down, and I didn't think anything of it. I guess she didn't think of it either, but yeah, it got a little bit damaged. But again, I mentioned now it was only 25 cents. So this book, so yeah, it can only be too bad. And it was completely readable. It didn't stain it or anything, so I'll hold on to it. I did get to a book that I purchased last month with Amy over at Zoe Beck. Actually, we went to Barnes & Noble, and so I got this book, Wildwood Magic by Willa Reese, because it greatly reminded me, and actually she is on the she's on the blurb here, Sarah Addison Allen, because she writes like the, what is it called, like the mystical, magical realism, where it's like, you know, you're in this world, but there's little magical elements here and there. And this, it flashes back and forth in time where she is escaping this kind of strict religious orphanage that kind of makes you think it's like this, or like a Protestant kind of religion, maybe. But there's something off about it, and I wouldn't necessarily call it that. I don't know. It's like doing the Protestant religion a disservice. But yeah, some kind of like really strict religion. She escapes it to go to the mountains, and like the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, and like that setting. I love the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. If you ever get a chance to go to the Shenandoah National Park or like Shenandoah Valley, I highly recommend it because it's one of my favorite places in the world. But yeah, so it's set in that kind of region. So I was like, oh yeah, this is ticking all the boxes, and it didn't hit all the marks for me. It's much too long. It has like deckled edges, and it's very pretty, but it dragged on. It was very repetitive. It was 412 pages. I say like 250 pages would have been good for this. It was just overwritten and repetitive and drawn out. But the essence of the story, I really liked. Okay, so let's see. And then I read it. I might as well cover these last three physical books. So I read Rose Wilder Lane, Young Pioneers. I actually read this for the June on the Range as well. But another booktuber, I think Web of Stories maybe, had mentioned they were going to read Freeland by Rose Wilder Lane for June on the Range. And I was like, okay, she gave me the idea. I was like, okay, I can use this book to fit the prompt. And these are, I have Freeland and Young Pioneers, and I have been avoiding reading Rose Wilder Lane's works because I have heard that they are nowhere near as good as the Little House on the Prairie series, and I can see that with this one. This is a very short book. And this is a reprint, a reissue, because it was originally called, does it say here what the name, I think Let the Hurricane Roar. Yeah, Let the Hurricane Roar, published in the 1930s. That book, the main characters are called Caroline and Charles, which are the parents of Rose Wilder, the parents of Laura Ingalls Wilder, and they changed the name, they reprinted Young Pioneers and changed the names to Molly and David, which I think are the same characters in Freeland, if I might be mistaken, because I was like looking through that a couple weeks ago. But yeah, this is, yeah, it doesn't have the charm or like the full body, well-rounded characters and setting that the Little House on the Prairie has, the series has, but this has so many elements of those books. I feel like this could never have been published nowadays while that series was being published. You know, they couldn't have been published consecutively because it doesn't make any sense, and like I feel like it's almost like copyright infringement or something. I don't know, because there's so much in here. It's like, you know, Rose Wilder, I feel like ripped off her mom in a way, even though she was a more successful writer at the time. Yeah, I don't know. It was an odd book. Happy to have read it. It wasn't as bad. I mean, with all that being said, wasn't as bad as I was expecting, but it wasn't great either. And then I read a couple children's picture books because, like the tabletop coffee books, I have a lot of these. I was like, when I was reorganizing my shelves, I was like, yeah, I need to, like, I'm getting better at not having so many of these, but I still have like 5 or 6. And that's so silly to have these unread because, you know, they're like 25 pages and a lot of pictures. And so I really love the color scheme and the drawing of these books. So this is the Kazula That the Farm Made and Stirred by Samantha R. Vamos, illustrated by Rafael Lopez. And it was an honor book for the Pura Belpré book prize. And I haven't seen that prize before. But yeah, I picked this up because at a local free library because of the colors. And so it's like one of those stories where you start with one sentence. For example, let's see, let me go back to, this is the pot that the farm made and stirred. And then I'm just giving you an idea of how this is. And so, and then it goes, this is the butter, blah, blah, blah. So then it's like, you know, the next page, it has, you know, this is the cow that made the fresh milk while teaching the, oh, and also it introduces like Spanish terms. So you get the English for the very first sentence, and the next page that repeats it changes the word to Spanish. That churns the crema to make the menachella that went into the cazuela that the farm made and stirred. So you just keep adding, the sentence gets bigger and bigger as you go along. But yeah, let's see a couple more of these pictures. But yeah, I just love the and like the animals and how they're drawn and things. I feel like, you know, a little kid would love this. And then the last picture book I read, is this translated, I wonder? I know this is teaching you Spanish, but I don't think it's translated. Yeah, I think it was in English, but it has the, you know, Spanish words. But this one, I was thinking that because this one is translated. This is by Christina Bjork and Lena Anderson. This is Linnea's Windowsill Garden. And this is translated by, let me see here, because I saw it somewhere where it was listed. Translated by Joan Sandin. I think from the Swedish. Yeah, Swedish for sure. And it has like the old library card where it has like the stamp on it. So this book was first checked out in 1991. So yeah, this is all about how to have your own garden while you're in the city, because it talks about how both authors of this book and then our main character here, they don't live anywhere like on the countryside. They live in Stockholm, Sweden, like the biggest city in that country. But that doesn't stop them from enjoying the birds and the butterflies and the different bugs and the different plants that you can have, like, you know, in a windowsill, on your patio, the different herbs and fruit and vegetables. And so it was very inspiring to me, because I have an apartment, like, but I have not gone forth with planting and anything like that. Like, I didn't grow up with that kind of skill, and so like but it's still a poor excuse for me never to have dabbled in here's a little in gardening to some extent. I could, you know, get one of these little flower pots and start something. I've just never I don't know. I've never given it a go. And I had cats for the longest time, and I was always leery about having different plants around them because they chew on everything, and especially, you know, grass and plants. And I was just never sure, you know, what's poisonous and what's not, because there's so many poisonous plants for cats. And so I just didn't want to go down that road at all. But yeah, but that's not the case now. I have a dog, and she doesn't mind any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I need to take a note out of this book. But as you can, I was like showing you, they're in black and white, and so each page talks about a different thing. So this is about I organize a pea Olympics. So it's like you have a competition with the different strands of peas and how far up can they go and how quick. And it has like, you know, little warnings here of like what not to do and what to do and that kind of thing. And yeah, it was very cute. You know, about how, like, you know, how seeds, how they start. So really good for kids to get involved, and something I feel like, you know, the parents and the kids could do together. This is for sure a book full of ideas that kids like, oh, this sounds good, you know, that kind of thing. Because I know for me, that's how it was. Okay, so then I'll just briefly mention a couple of ebooks as well. So I read New Spring by Robert Jordan. This is the prequel to the Wheel of Time series, and it's a book I have been meaning to read for a bit, and I finally got to it. I'm turning the brightness down so you can see it. And this follows Lane and now I'm blinking on her name, Lan and Moraine, and how Moraine becomes an Aes Sedai. Like this, an Aes Sedai is like a witch with powers. You know, you can be born with it. And so she goes to the school and you know, moves up the different levels because she is introduced in the very first book, Eye of the World, as, you know, it's like all-knowing, you know, witch when she encounters the main characters in that series. And so this is like, you know, her experience going, you know, from nothing to becoming, you know, who she is in that series. And then Lan is her not partner in crime, but, you know, her co-worker in this, and along with for the adventure all throughout the Wheel of Time series. And so it's an interesting take for both of them to see their beginnings. So yeah, I would recommend this if you like the Wheel of Time series. Let's see here. Oh, excuse me. So I also wanted to mention I read A Cozy Mystery by Katie E. Dyer Seeley. This is Silence in the Surf, book 3 in the Pacific Northwest mystery series. I read this because I had initially planned to go to Hood River, and so this is all about Hood River, which is in the, let's see, it's in the Columbia Gorge, which is, Hood River is about an hour from me. So I had planned to go a couple weeks ago when I had my June vacation, like my start of summer kind of thing, but I didn't end up going, but I read a book to prepare myself for it. And so I actually, you know, ticked and saved several of the locations mentioned in here, like, you know, different restaurants and different parks to go to and that kind of thing. And so yeah, this was a very cute story. It was cute. I like it for the setting because I live here, and so I like how it's, you know, talking about you know, the where I am. But I don't know what it is about her series in general. They don't 100% click with me. I don't know, something about I do enjoy them, but it's like, I don't know, I'm a little bit removed from it in a sense. But yeah, it was enjoyable enough for sure, and I will there's, I think, 2 more books in the series that I wanted to I needed to get to. Okay, so then the last book I will mention that I read as an ebook was Why We Read on Bookworms, Libraries, and Just One More Page Before Lights Out by Shannon Reed. And this is a bit confusing because, and I saw like from people's reviews, they were talking about how like the part of why or we read, like the second word in this title, doesn't make sense because this is not about how all of us as a population are readers. This is how Shannon herself is a reader and how she became one, that kind of thing. That being said, though, if you can get past that part and just read it as like a bookish memoir, this was very good. It included so many genres, including Amish romances and children's literature and literary fiction, and, you know, runs the gamut. And anyone who is like a devoted reader, I feel like will like this book. And it was pretty short. Let's see it, because I have it on Goodreads here. It's 336 pages. I flew through this thing, and yeah, I just wanted to recommend this book. So those are some of the books I read this month. Wish me luck on my rearranging here. Hopefully it doesn't take me until the end of July, because I want to have it all set up, and I don't even have the camera necessarily set up as I would like it, because I know it's a bit funny, but anyway, we're just working with what we have here, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.